On the show this month, London pick up their final piece, as do New York. The Chengdu Hunters are falling apart. Overwatch 2 came out, and all the things you want to know about and from LEGDAY. All of that on this month's The Runway. Hello, friends, and welcome to The Runway, the world's biggest and best Overwatch League in London Spitfire podcast. We're taking it back. My name is Cameron, and I am your regular host, joined as ever by my partners in crime from one place to another, Kiwi and Squiddy. How are you both doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm very well, thank you. Kiwi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for asking. Thank you for acknowledging me.
You're welcome.
Who's
you
this
are,
person
you're
also in
always
our
welcome.
chat, Cam?
Sorry?
Who's this other person with us? I forget their name.
Who's the other? Oh, Kiwi. It's very funny. Welcome to the Runway, the biggest Overwatch League in London Spitfire podcast in the world. This podcast is brought to you by MetaMatch, but we will tell you a little bit about them later on in the show. That's who we are. We'll tell you a bit more about Chaos Void at the end, but firstly, let's get started with the news you care about. First piece of news this week, Chengdu Hunters might be collapsing, but might not be collapsing, but kind of look like they're collapsing. Leave was supposed to be leaving the team, but now is potentially not, as talks have broken down between himself and the other teams that he was going to be joining. The current look-up of the team is that it looks likely that they will play with a minimum roster, with Yveltal and Aprita being benched for the season ahead. Kiwi, you're a big old Chengdu fan. What do you think of this news?
This is a big old bucket of pain, isn't it? this is awful. Like, when we sat back and watched the Valiant collapse, it was kind of like watching it through a window. You're like, this. I can imagine this hurts, but I'm pretty safe in here. And now I'm like, pain. I don't know. I don't want anyone to be benched. Like, what a sucky feeling that's going to be, like, to finally, like, where you want to be, and then you're like, you can sit out for the season. I'd rather they got sold and have the opportunity to play elsewhere than benched. I don't know why it's falling apart. I think it's so stupid that it is falling apart, because they, as a team, had so much potential. I'm very sad about this.
Yeah, it'll be a real shame not to see them having built such a strong tournament-winning roster. Struggle to take a tournament. Next piece of the news you care about, the NYXL have signed their sixth and likely final piece of their roster for the year ahead, and interestingly, it's their first non-Korean player. They pick up the American player Vulcan. Squiddy, two questions for you. Firstly, what do you think of the pickup? Secondly, let's be honest here, do we think Vulcan sees any significant playtime?
No, I thought you were going to say Drake for a moment. I think it will be similar to Kib on the Guangzhou Charge back in season 2 or 3. I think it was season 2.
I forgot that Kib was on the Guangzhou Charge.
Yes, precisely. It was Kib and Nero. Nero got game time eventually. Kib didn't. I could see where actually no, NY are based on the NA, the West region. Never shred it. West region. I always have to do that, and I think it'll be interesting. I think there is potential for them to get game time. It kind of depends, realistically, if his teammates, if either they know Korean very well, or not even very well, enough to call out, or like some other multilingual teams, like there was, what team was it? That was both Chinese and Korean, and they communicated in English.
Hangzhou Spark is that team, I believe.
Yeah, they commed in English, so it could be that might happen here. We shall see. I think the NYXL are a weird team anyway. They had such a strong big first season, big following as well, like home of New York. They're like the parent organization is quite big as well, so they won't want another bad season befalling them.
It'll be interesting to see, I think, in the long run, whether this leads to more American players on the NYXL and whether eventually we see them, if Falcon becomes more profitable over time than compared to some of their other teams, although they have had major players on their teams before, SBB, Animo, Jonak, so on and so forth. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. The next piece of news you're going to care about is that if you didn't manage to get yourself an Overwatch 2 beta code from the big drops day, don't worry, there is still an opportunity for you, though it's going to be a bit harder. Drops have been made available of Overwatch 2 beta keys for the first weekend of the Overwatch League. There is no information, no speculation, no details yet on other weekends. For sure, we know about the first one. There's 1,500 keys available. I'm not sure off the top of my head whether that is per day or overall, but either way, it's going to be a hard conversion to get one viewer, one key, but there's still an opportunity. Don't give up hope. But the final piece of news you're definitely going to care about is that Overwatch 2 is in our hands. The game itself, the fabled boy child, the prodigal son come home, Overwatch 2 is here. And I think everyone on this stream has played it, which is likely because we're recording this a few days before you see it. So there's a good chance you out there have played it as well. Kiwi, Kiwi, I'll start with you. Overwatch 2, what do you think?
It's beautiful. It is stunning. Gameplay aside, it looks incredible. And seeing like some of the maps that you know so well at a different time of day, as stupid as that sounds, like seeing Oasis at night, it is gorgeous. It is like being on holiday. The sounds are amazing. As a support, it's equal measure fantastic and frustrating as hell because you just get shredded. Like I've played predominantly into Soldier Sojourn since the beta launched, and that is a horrible, horrible thing to be walking into as predominantly like a Mercy Anna. So yeah, it's stunning, but I'm going to have to get good.
Yeah.
Squid, are you the same?
No, I was about to say, like, I play Overwatch on very low settings. I care more about having a steady frame rate than having nice graphics. Even with that, the game looks absolutely stunning. Like, it was a full, like, 12, 14 gig download, wasn't it? Like, it was a full-on... It was massive. It's a full-on game. Like, so they have updated the engine, and it looks glorious. The sound design is fantastic. I'm still here. I hear a gun over there. I'm like, holy shit! I do not want to get. Oh, can we swear on this? By the way.
Oh yeah.
You are right though about spatial awareness with like the sounds in game, because I had an Ashe in a game with you earlier on, Cam. I had an Ashe flank me, and I could tell exactly where that Ashe was from the sound of her high heels. That's insane.
Cool. Yeah, the sound design is fantastic. I to be fair, I like the whole new 5v5. Like, I feel like I'm no longer like a squishy support. Well, I am still a squishy support, but the fact I self heal after a couple seconds out of combat makes it I can save my key. Like, as Anna, if you were at 50 health and you had to retreat from a fight, immediately what you do, you nade yourself, and then you've lost that nade cooldown for 12 seconds. You don't need to worry about that anymore, unless of course someone dives you, then of course you use that nade. But I think that's such a cool change. And I think as a tank player, you are much more free as well. You don't have to worry. Like, tanks in Overwatch 1, you had to basically protect your backline. That was like your own, like, your main tank tried to gain space. Your off tank had to be between your main tank and your backline to try and be in the middle. Now, don't need to worry about it. Players Orisa, charge forward with your little javelin spin, javelin someone, fortify, and just become an absolute nuisance. And I think it's a much more freeing experience for tanks, and I think you'll get tanks enjoying their role a lot more. because they definitely did not in Overwatch 1.
I think it depends what your tank's doing, though. Also, the javelin, as a support, if it comes out of nowhere, is terrifying.
Yeah, for sure.
You are just pinned to a wall by your face. It's awful, and I love it. But, like, tanks... We had a Reinhardt earlier on that just flooped, and we never saw him again until he appeared on the death feed. We were like, oh, okay, bye.
I mean, the tanks can feed more, but I think that we were discussing in the our Chaos Void podcast that you're gonna have to learn to use the surroundings, the environment, the building structure, the architecture. That's the word. Much more, and I think that's going to actually improve the level of Overwatch, because you're not going to have a Cassidy just standing right in the open with nothing around them. They're going to be positioned in such a way that it's harder for you to go engage onto them, but then at the same time, it's harder for them to just take that space quickly. Although I love the magnetic grenade. I got a game where I was being nanoed consistently, which was fantastic. And as soon as I threw it and it connected, I was like, that's going to be a kill. Like, all I have to do is hit him once, like in the ankle, and then explosion. I absolutely adore it. I didn't know how they were going to approach Cassidy, because a big part of his kit was that stun, that flashbang. And I think they've done an excellent job of kind of changing. And Bastion seems balanced.
No, we don't talk about Bastion. Screw Bastion. Get out.
No, I was about to say, the fact that there's a timer on the configuration mode is so much better than Overwatch 1. The fact that...
I've seen so many nano Bastions today.
Oh, God, yeah, that's terrifying. But
it needs to stop.
At least you know you've only got, I don't know, how is it, 8 to 10 seconds of that format to deal with before it's back into standard Bastion. I think that was a great change to him.
I also appreciate that it feels more like a high-end ability than it used to. It used to very much feel like Bastion was out, sat down, and that was it. You dealt with it or you didn't. Now it feels like a thing you respond to, which it never used to, right? Like Bastion, you used to respond by peeking, looking, being cautious, using an ability. Like it was like very basic Overwatch. It feels like the skill floor has been brought up a little, but also in the way that the comps are changing, the floor's been dropped a little. I appreciate what we saw in the chat the other day about they've added some more cover to early spawn areas, so you can't spawn camp quite as hard. I think that the game's a lot slightly less good at showing off information about what you're doing. Like, it's slightly less good about showing how much damage you're doing, it's converting to, so on and so forth. But it's a little better at punishing you visually for what you do. So Arisa's new javelin thing, if you flank too hard and get one of those, it's like the game slapping your wrists and being like, no, stop it, don't do that, play better. And so in the same way, like Doomfist's dive and so on and so forth, I think the game feels a little more like it's trying to tell you how to play well, which is something that Overwatch 1 did, but never either got to capitalize on or didn't do as well as it should.
Yeah, I think that to be fair, I like the new scoreboard that they've created. I think there was a bit of discussion about it, about like, hey, this might bring up more toxic behavior. Overwatch was already toxic without this scoreboard. You'd always go, oh, well, I'm gold medal. What are you? I'm 4 gold medals this game. What have you done?
That's just it's a different type of toxicity.
Absolutely, but now
I can see it being, as a healer, I can see it being like, why is the enemy Anna better than you? Well, go play on the enemy Anna's team then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think overall it's going to be better, because then people will have more of an informed opinion at the end or after a game. Because I'm going to hope, obviously this is the beta, like after you've finished a game, you'll have a match history. You get to see that game and with like the stats associated with that game, kind of like the replays at the moment. You'll have like a drop down. You see the stats immediately, and that the assists will work. Yeah, I think it's going to be good because, as I say, people have an informed opinion about the game. They may not like it immediately, but overall, having more information available to players will make it so much better. There's a reason that in scrim codes, typically, they've built that system to get all that extra information. It's now in the game for you. Clearly as well.
True.
How are you finding it as a tank, Cam? Because you're the main like tanker out of the three of us. Backs away.
No, I've only played 2 games of tank, and I think they're very interesting. I think it's very interesting to see how people try out the new heroes and then tend to go back to what they know. So we've played a couple of games where people have tried out Orisa, didn't kind of get it, and just ended up going back to Rhine. And I think that will start to define the difference between people who maybe fall off or don't. Like, I think there will be a bit of a difference for... And I think especially post Overwatch or into the Overwatch League, into people publishing guides, into so on, will be people who just fall back on rush, dive, brawl, whatever. Where I think there probably will be some significantly new approaches to comps coming out. And that'll be really interesting. It is... I don't know that it's fair to say how I'm finding it yet, because there's definitely muscle memory that I need to tweak. So it's like, I still love it. It's still Overwatch, which I think is a thing that some people were worried about, which is fair, and some people don't feel, which is fair. Everyone plays it at different levels and stuff. But it's still... Playing a game today was like, okay, this is still my friend. It's just my friend in a new dress. Cool. But I've still got to learn my friend's dress. I don't know. That's not a great analogy, but
let's move on from the dress.
yeah.
Yeah, I think something I noticed, I think Cam, you noticed as well, is that projectiles felt slower, which I don't know if that's to do with the increase in other aspects of the game.
Yeah, it's not hugely known at the minute whether the tick rate of the game has increased, and so you need to slightly adapt your muscle memory for projectiles. Certainly hit scan felt more natural to me than the new projectiles did. But I think that'll probably just become a thing that like I think when you switch between platforms, those rates and stuff change anyway. I don't know if anyone out there is playing Overwatch on the Switch. Firstly, if you are, my condolences. And secondly, but seriously, if you are like jumping, because that's a 30 frames per second platform and limited to that, trying to aim something like a Junkrat mine needs to be more carefully aimed and feels a lot less natural jumping between platforms until you get used to it. And as somebody who plays on 2 different PCs, one here that, you know, it's trying, and another one that can actually play it, the difference between jumping from 60 frames per second when my PC is like to a PC still feels significant. So I think yes, I don't know why, I don't know if it's intentional, but I think it'll probably just become one of those things we look back on and go, yeah.
It might not even be slower, though. That's the thing. Like, the game overall, everything feels sped up. Not just, like, how you play it, but the timings. I was saying earlier on, it felt like the amount of time you had to 100% a point, it halved, or it felt like it did. Like, the amount of time, as a Mercy main, the amount of time I had to res somebody felt halved. Like, everything. I know, like, the spawns come down to 8 seconds. Yeah, I wonder if they've taken a lot of timings down by a couple of seconds, because it's only a couple of seconds, but the amount of reses I went for earlier on, and they're gone by the time I got in there, it just felt really weird.
To some extent, I wonder whether that's a slight placebo effect of seeing less going on around you. Like,
yeah,
to some extent,
look.
I wonder to some extent if there is some tweaking, obviously, but I also wonder if, because there's one significantly less chunky character doing stuff, you're noticing more the quicker actions of squishies, the one less chunky death, so on, and thinking, oh, this is way faster, when actually it's just a little lesser on your end, you know? Like, the kid has got off the seesaw, so it feels faster, but it's not. It's just that you've dropped relative to what you're experiencing.
Not that very well could be.
Like, yeah, see, I thought the absolutely opposite. It felt longer. I'm fairly sure I saw spawn timers of like 12 seconds on some maps.
Really?
Yeah.
Haven't they said though that they've dropped the spawn timing?
I haven't seen.
Isn't that confirmed?
I tried to Google Overwatch 2 spawn timer and I didn't get anything.
I did the same with Res and nothing came up.
No, so it's felt longer. And then I had a game of control earlier with our very own Sheldini, and it went on for ages. Like, there was an Orisa on point with an Ana. It was our Orisa and Ana. Just never died against 4 of them. It was... I mean, I don't know why they didn't go for the Ana first. But it
makes sense.
It was phenomenal. Kind of like how I died, had the really long cooldown timer, got back on Tracer, and then was somehow able to kind of clean it up, and it kept...
Was it in overtime?
That one was in overtime, but before that, I remember having... I remember seeing timers not in overtime that were longer than 8 seconds as well. Wow, so I think there's something to look at, but I'm finding it longer, but more intense. Which is fun. I just love, because a good game of Overwatch is one of the best feelings, and I think this is allowing more of those.
I can't wait to see people playing more heroes, because at the minute I feel like all I'm seeing is on tank. It's either people want to try out the new Orisa, which I don't blame them because she's cool, the new Doom, or fall back on Rhine. I haven't seen any Winstons, which surprised me, because with his like new abilities, I was like, Winston's going to be everywhere. No, and on DPS, I've only seen predominantly Soldier, Sojourn, fallbacks onto Pharaoh, and that's not working. And then supports, I've only really seen... In fact, I think support might be the most diverse I've seen. I think I've seen all of them at some point.
Yeah.
But I've only seen like this tiny little cluster of DPS and tanks. Like, I want to see everybody. I'm bored now. Come on.
But it's funny how you can tell that that's impacted by kind of the perception of those heroes in Overwatch 1, right? Like, Mei has had significant changes to everything they do, but still is kind of... I don't think I've seen anyone not only play Mei in the few games I've played, but like really talk about Mei in a significant way since the game came out. And that'll be because it's just not... Like, people want to be like... People are going to the sexy nods first, and we'll see where that goes to in time.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Overwatch 2 before we get to
the
other chunks? Yeah, same.
Thumbs up.
Worth the wait. Worth the wait, guys.
Well, it's time to get on to the section of the show that gives us our niche and allows us a little gloat at the beginning. It's time for your Spitfire Spotlight. So this month for the Spitfire Spotlight, we are not going to be delving too much into Spitfire information, slightly contrary to what I just said, but Spitfire have gone through a significant number of changes in the last few weeks, even leading up to the season, even leading up to this week with a brand new support. We'll talk about those things, but we wanted to give the org a little bit of space to get themselves where they need to be, breathe a little. They've even had behind the scenes changes, so just get everything in motion, and we'll talk about them when the team's actually playing rather than when the team is constantly in flux. 2 things we'll go through though. Firstly, has anybody been following Hardy and Sparker's in-person discovery of each other? It's absolutely adorable.
It's the cutest thing ever. Oh, I love them. I love them so much already.
So if you didn't know, Hardy and Sparker met in America after flying to the team house for the first time, but they've played on a team for like 3-4 years together, have what seems to be a close friendship. And so watching them meet each other, try the food, try the things, be in person as a team together, it's been really lovely as Spitfire fans to see that kind of their community coming together in a similar way that we can only hope that ours does, whether it be for the perfect reasons or be because, you know, we need to find the boys a win again. No, I'm sure that won't be the case.
Did they go to Six Flags as well?
Yes, yeah, they did.
They day out at Six Flags.
I've been very jealous of some of the food Sparker has posted as well. Those tacos the other day, they look great.
Hit us up, guys.
I was going to say, I think it's for Spitfire fans as well. We haven't had this type of content since Gesture saying "Get out my pub" back in season 1. Like, there hasn't been that, I would say, same connection to.
Can we get one of the new lads to say "Get out of my pub" in the most British accent they can muster?
I mean, give it give it, I'm sure, the first tournament and a team chat video, and I'm sure we'll get all sorts of stuff. I love that. Do you remember the one team chat video that we got from Spitfire in the last season? It immediately went to bottle of water, bottle of water. Amazing.
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really nice. Obviously, the other big piece of news for London is, in light of needing a port after recent removals, London have picked up Landon, which is going to in no way confuse. I can't wait to hear Mitch Leslie say, and it's Landon coming up for London, and Landon. That'll be great.
How good was the graphic, though?
It was really good.
Not to, like, diss anyone, but the graphics have been okay up to now. But this one slapped.
Yeah, really nice. Landon's a great pickup from Collegiate Overwatch. If you watched the recent Collegiate finals, absolutely fucked on a number of heroes. Oh yeah, we can swear, by the way, Squid.
I mean, I already have a few times, so
yeah.
No bleeping for you.
Yeah, no, we've put the bleep machine in the bin.
It's
yeah, Landon absolutely. His Baptiste is fucking scary. His Anna is very, very good. I can't remember the last. Oh no, maybe he did play Zen in Collegiate. He almost certainly did. But like, scary motherfucker on those things. What I really like about the Landon pickup is, it's so weird to say that. What I really like about that Landon pickup is that he's very, very self-sufficient as a healer. He's immovable when he gets on a point. You have to focus on him to shift him, because if your focus is anywhere else, he will be there. And going into Overwatch 2 with the more self-sufficient healers, with the self-heal, with those kind of passives going on, hopefully that will bode very well for Spitfire and well for Landon's performance. Any thoughts on your boy from either of you guys?
I agree.
Excellent. Good.
Thumbs up.
Kiwi, any thoughts?
Squiddy's ever in agreement with us. He usually just likes to argue. I don't want to say I agree now, because I'd just be copying Squiddy, but you are right. When he's like Velcro to that point, there's like, he ain't moving. I'm very excited to see. I just want to learn from him. I'm very excited to like have somebody I can really connect with as a healer and learn from. And just for supports to get that, that same kind of, oh, fuck moment that we always used to get with like Jonag. I want to see that passed on to somebody else now. Pass the torch. Like, I want somebody to look at Landon and be like, holy shit, that guy's an utter crackhead.
Yeah. I just want to know, why did you choose Velcro as a metaphor for immovable object, as it's a very easy rip? I would have gone with super glue myself.
It's because
Gorilla duct tape. Cam, any
It's because A, I panicked, and B, I was clearing out my cosplay wardrobe the other day. and I've got these Assassin's Creed gauntlets, right? And I'd had to add like industry strength of Velcro to them to keep them together. Could I pull that Velcro apart? No, it all went in the bin. So that's why Velcro stuck in my head.
This is going to be an aside at the end of the podcast now. So hold on. Why would you deliberately choose to use industry strength Velcro to, like, wouldn't industry strength super glue and a zip or something be, or is that not? What? Am I coming up with cosplay bollocks here? Like, if I need to secure something.
Yeah, but it was the material of the gauntlet, because it was like a plastic.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's not like, okay.
Yeah. So,
Oof.
And I thought it's going to need to, because you've seen the Assassin's Creed Hidden Blades, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, the way it needs to come on and off, it comes in two parts. You've got like the decorative wrist piece, and then on the bottom, not attached, you've got the retractable blade.
Okay.
So it made it easier to Velcro the whole thing together, but they're deceptively heavy. So regular Velcro didn't work. So my brain went, well, don't try a stronger Velcro. Just go for the Gorilla Glue equivalent of Velcro.
Nice.
and then I
Okay.
couldn't undo it. It was
See,
stuck. So
I was very on board with your landing as Velcro point because he can choose to be
yes,
very securely
yes.
on the point or remove
Mhm.
himself as he pleases. But,
Completely intentional. No
then
panic there
then you
whatsoever.
actually put experience in, and now I'm not sure that I agree with.
Can we
But yeah, Landon
buy?
is very good.
Can we
He's
buy
very, very
some
good.
industrial strength Velcro at some point and then like
Yeah.
tie someone to a wall?
No.
Tie 'em.
Can we? Okay, hold on. Can we get some industrial strength Velcro, and like Velcro Squiddy to his chair, and see how long it takes him to stand?
I'll
Yes.
just lift a chair. Fucking swole.
So, with that out of the way, let's get to our main feature. The reason I imagine of you are here. We will be talking to LEGDAY right after this message from our sponsor. The Runway is brought to you in partnership with MetaMatch. Fantasy Overwatch League is back, and so too is a great app and a great community for you to experience it. MetaMatch has a range of fantasy draft options, whether they be daily, season long, or with custom dates that you can set up for the people that you want to play with. And that's not all. We've got some exclusive stuff for you as well. If you're still looking for somewhere to play Fantasy Overwatch with, we have season-long regular tournament drafts that will be happening alongside each of the main competitions of the regular season, and daily drafts throughout the major tournaments with exclusive prizes and exclusive opportunities to win a big Overwatch League jersey at the end of the season, and a community where you can get involved and talk to the people playing along with you on those matches. If you want to know more about Fantasy Overwatch League on MetaMatch, or you want to sign up to our leagues, visit the link that you will find either in the description below or in the chat right now. And if you're still looking for a browser, it's bit.ly/Chaos Void MetaMatch. That's bit.ly/Chaos Void MetaMatch. And thank you very much, MetaMatch, for sponsoring the show. We really appreciate it, and we're super excited to work with you. For you, with you. Fuck. Thanks.
Hey.
Hi everyone, this is the Chaos Void from the past here at Insomnia 68 with the one and only Harry LEGDAY Pollitt. You never skip him. Hello, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Just it's bloody hot here at Insomnia this entire weekend. It's been an absolute sweatbox for all of us.
Absolutely, and we thought that what we would do to fix that is shove you in a room 3 floors back that's even warmer.
Far from any airflow. The air here has been recycled at least 46 times.
Absolutely, but what's COVID? So, I should ask this first. Do you want to be Harry? Do you want to be LEGDAY? Mr. Pollitt? Mr. Day.
Someone's called me Mr. Day before. That was so weird. But yeah, Harry's fine.
Have you ever been signed up to anything as Leg's second name Day?
My Google business email lists my first name as LEGDAY and my second name as Gaming.
Okay, so
And I can't change it.
perfect. So, Mr. Gaming.
Mr. Gaming.
So, we're here at Insomnia with LEGDAY, Mr. Gaming himself, LEGDAY, who, I mean, firstly, massive congratulations for the recent announcement that you're stepping up to the Overwatch League stage.
Thank you. It's gonna be a right blast. I've been grinding for this one a long time, and it's a really good time to get into it, as Overwatch 2 is about to hit the old beta. From the time of recording, I think it's about 2 weeks from now, maybe 1 week from now. What day is it today?
It's 9 days from today.
Ooh, you're on top of that one.
I have just dug the date out of my mind there and then. Yeah, it's pretty close. And it's really awesome that it's you and Lemon Kiwi casting together as well. Those, people who know you from Contenders, who have maybe followed yourself through Hurricane matches and so on, that might be watching this will get to see that duo again. That's really awesome.
Yeah, obviously over the last 2 years, we had Trid and Ekra doing a lot of Hurricane games over in EU because Trid has a normie job, so he can't stay up till 6 a.m. casting North America stuff. So they got to do a lot of the EU, but Lemon and I got to step in now and then to do some British Hurricane games. And of course, they were always wins in 2020 because that's just how British Hurricane did.
So it's among other things, it's been a busy off season, and this is our first opportunity to talk on the Runway about the off season of 2022. So what kind of things stand out in particular to you? Are there any particular teams that you're looking forward to, players that you've seen picked up, any bright sparks in the future?
Yeah, obviously we're all super sad about what happened with Alarm. A tragedy for all Overwatch League fans, as well as, of course, a bunch of people in the Philadelphia Fusion as well, who were super close to Alarm, and also Jonak's not coming back as well, our Season 1 MVP. Some would say the most popular flex support probably in the history of the game. So there's a big void there that has to be filled on a lot of different teams. And I'm interested in what some teams are going to be doing for it. I think that the most interesting team heading into the new season for me is probably NYXL, just because apart from like Flora, they've completely nuked their previous squad. They've changed regions as well. So we've got an NYXL who's not only a new team, but also a team that, in terms of Flora matchups, they've never been up against a bunch of these Western teams as well. So NYXL is a complete wild card.
Yeah, and the first year of an NYXL without Jonak, as you say, it's going to be so, because they so often just use the protect the president kind of mindset even in games in the later seasons. I think it's going to be really interesting to see who they kind of play around and what strats they play around. I'm really excited to see Toronto Defiant. I think the way that they've kind of destroyed and rebuilt is going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see Although on the stage. Look forward to more Xe if he is picked up. We don't know at this point, but he may well be.
At this point, we're in the Halo sphere.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We're deep in the Leak River.
We're all Master Chiefs because we're on a Halo ring of unknowing. But I'd really like to see that. How about yourself, Kiwi? As I awkwardly pass you the one microphone we have between us.
You know me. Anything Soul. I'm just happy they're there. I'm just happy that they are still there. They've not imploded. I'm getting teary talking about it. They've not imploded, and I'm happy to see that. There's a lot of chopping and changing in this off season, and a lot of new players coming up as well. Now, obviously, you've done quite a lot of contenders casting. Is there anyone that you're really excited to see, or you think people should keep an eye on?
Oh, I think that it's going to be probably some of the players that people are most worried about as well, because Atlanta Reigns is a super interesting story in this offseason, right? Getting second in the entire season and then basically throwing your team to the 4 wins. Like, no, second won't do. Everyone goes. So they've completely just rejigged the team. Masters over on Vancouver. I think... I don't know where Iris ended up. Is he on Outlaws now? Or is that Lastro?
Lastro's on Outlaws. I don't know that Iris
not sure if Iris is still there or where Iris has gone, but the players I was looking forward to return to your question, are OG and Ultraviolet as a duo. These guys are absolutely manic. On American Tornado, essentially untouchable. They've been playing professional Overwatch now for so long that any meta that could be thrown at them, you know that these guys are able to play, and OG is like brutal as far as main supports go. And we don't know yet in Overwatch 2 how brutal main supports are going to be, if they're going to become like a little bit more frag heavy, a little bit more like the flex support. So for me, it's definitely going to be a little bit more looking towards how supports change, especially with what we mentioned before, with like a lot of the famous flex supports falling away.
Interesting that they've recently picked up Speedily as well to kind of complete the trifecta.
Like, they decided we're taking as much of American Tornado as we can get. Like, unfortunately for Atlanta, like, they missed out on Reiner, but I think they're fairly happy with Gator and Hawk as a tank line, right? Like, between the two of them, you've got everything covered, and you don't need to get a third tank when you're only able to play one at a time. And Reiner seems to be an excellent fit for Gladiators. He's going to be super impressive there, and Reiner's a player that I'm always singing the praises of. Kaluge as well got picked up, even though they went on American Tornado for most of 2021. They kind of ended out the 2020 season, and then they went further afield to do some collegiate stuff, but being picked up as a last-second replacement for Shock when Super retired. I think probably the best that they can get there, because Kaluge is a monster when it comes to so many off-tanks. And rumblings from I've heard, rumors, is just that off-tanks at the moment, it looks like they're super viable as far as the one-tank meta goes.
Oh, really? Interesting. So there are a bunch of teams that kind of did upgrade their off-tank position. London specifically picking up Poco. As you say, Kaluge being on Shock, there's loads of really interesting pickups in that way. I can't wait to see what Hambin does in a situation where he can really kind of show off, and I really look forward to Paris kind of going into their full stride as well. Yeah, and it's really interesting as well to see much more collegiate players being picked up. So obviously certain players from London who are no longer on the team for the right reasons. Kaluj, as you say, rumblings at the minute that London are looking at Landon as well. So from last year where we had one player in Juby, now we're having 3 or 4 players being picked up from that scene. Really healthy to see that going into the feed.
I think it's a mixture of different stimuli, one of which was that a lot of collegiate teams upped their investment in Overwatch, and they started actively recruiting players from contenders teams to join their collegiate rosters. So we've seen players that are not only topping collegiate, like players from Maryville, Northwood, Harrisburg, and what's the 4th big one? I forget the 4th big team, but they win basically everything. So unfortunate that I forgot that one.
I can't think of them either.
It's okay. It's only branding for collegiate teams. We don't care. We're more EU based. we're about the no teams here, baby. we saw a lot of teams pick up like North American tier 2 players, right? Be like, hey, you're pretty good at Overwatch. You want to not pay for tuition and be in debt for the rest of your life? Sounds pretty good, bro.
Yeah. Pretty good deal. Pretty good deal.
So we've seen a lot of collegiate players kind of be exposed to that higher tier of competition, and that means that the rest of collegiate as well are starting to get better just from exposure to those kind of scrims and that kind of practice time. Like, when those kind of players enter the ecosystem, the level of everyone gets a little bit higher. So I'd only expect for the collegiate pickups to rise year after year now.
I do have to ask as well, though. We had the Bread Bowl. We had the Battle of Texas. We also need to know who the best team in Europe is. Obviously, it's us. I'm just saying. Are there any particular matchups or teams in general you're really looking forward to casting? Anything you think is going to be real spicy?
I feel like I don't want to call it the Battle of Brexit, but London versus Paris is going to be really interesting because these are players that will know each other super well from European contenders. And I think that for me, just as someone who cast more NA than EU over the last few years, I'm really looking forward to Gladiators versus Shock because these guys are kind of like the pair of Chads in North America, right? Like, both of these teams are stacked. They've got powerful branding, solid fan bases, and their tank battle, Reiner versus Kaluj. These guys are blood brothers, and when they go up against each other, it's about as anime as it gets. So for me, Shock versus Gladiators is definitely the most interesting matchup of the year in terms of sustained rivalry between those two tanks.
Can we start calling it Brexit Ball?
On previous shows, we called it Brexit 2.0 and got told not to. So, yeah, I guess we can. So you're casting in the East?
Yeah, mostly APAC, but
Right.
I will do some NA stuff as well. Depends on availability and, of course, the ever-cruel mistress of visas.
Yeah.
So we all know what happened with Sideshow in Season 2. Like, sometimes things just take a while. And if it takes a while, then I'll be doing more East. If it comes up earlier, maybe you see me do some more North America stuff as well.
Right, okay. So are there any particular teams in the East that you can't wait to get your juicy words around? I hate that I just said that.
Those are some juicily engorged words. Turgid words. I think that I've always been a Soul fanboy at heart, and seeing them now with Smurf is going to be super interesting. Like, Prophet is probably my favorite player ever, but also, when it comes to the best off tank in the world, baby, it's got to be Fury from our Season 1 Champions roster. And being a solo tank over on a Philadelphia Fusion, we know that Fury's actually got a pretty good Orisa because of our weird approach to the end of Season 1 where Sigma came in to... No, it's actually Season 2, where Sigma came in towards the end just after the 2v2 lock came in. And we saw that Gesture wanted to be the one to play Sigma, so we got a lot of Orisa from Fury. So it's given me some quiet confidence that if we do enter a meta where a main tank is required, that Fury will be very good for this team. However, Philly are also really weird that they have double Carpe now, because they picked up MN3, who's a huge pickup, but they are like a hit scan chat. And Philly already have a hit scan Shad, so maybe they're waiting for potentially a double hit scan meta. I've kind of been thinking that double hit scans are going to be super powerful with only one tank. If they play a crossfire, only one of them can be given attention at a time, so we might see a very strong double sniper out of Philly.
And I think if you think that they've picked up 2 flex supports, as you say, 2 Carpes, what you basically have there is a lineup of Carpe, Fury, Carpe, and Carpe. Sounds pretty good to me.
4 Carpes and a Fury. At this point, this is an anger management circle for a salmon river.
Some teams invested in collegiate, some went into contenders. Philly invested in cloning, basically, is where we went.
We've put our entire Comcast budget into mitosis.
I have to say that as a support main, that's going to give me nightmares for a really long time. If you could offer one piece of advice to your past self and our viewers if they want a career in casting, what would it be? And I know that's a horrible, massive question.
All right, like
no pressure.
I don't know if I can swear, but what made you poo as a caster in the beginning?
Swear away.
So the thing that probably made me the shittest caster in the beginning was probably not listening to my co-casters. In casting, especially color casting that I do in Overwatch, even though I was play-by-play here at Insomnia, there's a weird tendency to worry too much about sounding right and having some lovely, insightful points, which obviously is great for the audience. But I think when it comes to casting as a product, if you've got a established pair like I had with Jaws and I have now with Lemon, it's more important to listen to your co-caster and ingest what they're saying, because even if you might not have as good a point as you would have if you had prepared something instead, it sounds a lot better to just be able to have a back and forth with your co-caster and make it a conversation rather than a showpiece about how much you know. Oh, LEGDAY is so intelligent. No one gives a shit.
Big brain time.
It's like, oh my, LEGDAY, your brain is so muscular and large.
That's why your hair's
They don't call you Mr. Gaming for no reason.
I earned that title.
So, obviously, one of the biggest stories for you over the off-season is your step up from contenders here now to the Overwatch League. How does it feel to... Because people have been talking and asking and hoping that you and Lemon Kiwi would be seen on the big spotlight stage for a while. How does it feel to finally be there?
Oh, it feels really, really good, obviously. Someone asked me yesterday what my most humbling experience was as a caster, and it was probably not getting to go up to Overwatch League with Jaws in 2020 and having to start again with a new product with Lemon. But I really think that Lemon and I have something that's very much going to be impressive to the audience who haven't heard us before. We've got some amazing chemistry. I think we're pretty funny. The real worry about being the new caster pair this season, because all the other casters who are joining the roster, Trid and Necra, they're joining established casters like Jaws, who the audience have met, and Vicky Kitty, who the audience have met. And given that we're the brand new pair, there's always going to be that fear, that stigma that we might be seen as replacing Brennan Sideshow, when Brennan Sideshow are obviously absolutely fantastic casters, and the community has a very special spot in their heart for Brennan Sideshow. But I'm hoping that this year we'll be able to sort of escape from the shadow of being replacements, even though it's not particularly accurate for Brennan Sideshow, and kind of be our own thing. And I think we've got a good enough product to be able to do that.
So I'd like to hope that we've got a good amount of aspiring casters watching this and listening to this right now. So you talk about those nerves. What's a good way that you have to overstep those nerves when it comes up to day one, when it comes up to stepping up on that mic for the first time?
Oh, it's difficult for the first time. Generally, when I'm dealing with my nerves, which I have almost all the time, I try to think about my body of work and think about that I kept getting hired. It's like I haven't messed up harshly enough yet for him to not ask me back. But when it comes to that first time, one of the things about casting is that all casters are like if you're gonna do it properly, you have to be inherently a little bit of a narcissist, because it takes a special kind of ego to think anyone gives a shit what you have to say about a video game, right? Like, it's not like a incredibly important topic in the holistic sense of the world, and you're obviously a small voice, especially a lot of starting casters. Like, we don't have too many people who are coming over from content creation to cast instead, like you've got in games like Fortnite and like Valorant. So generally people with quite small platforms, so you need a little bit of an ego there to at least be able to grab the mic in the first place and talk about video games. When it comes to beating nerves, don't throw up.
You heard it here first.
That is some expert advice. But yeah, I'm terrible. Like, I'm an anxious wreck almost all of the time. I pee like 4 times before a cast. I'm like an anxious dog, man. You've just got to be able to get into it, and you'll soon notice that the game does most of the work for you. And once you're actually in there and casting, it becomes a huge amount easier. But honestly, there's no real way to beat the nerves when you are looking at that countdown.
So just kind of embrace them, I guess.
Yeah. Like, one of the good things about like the conflicts of ego and nervousness is that you kind of ego check yourself if you think every time you see that countdown, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up. Because so long as you don't believe yourself invincible and you keep yourself honest to that, then you don't get carried away with the inherent narcissism of a job.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the kind of just know that you're fallible, but you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
Kind of mindset.
Like, you haven't fucked up yet.
Yeah.
Any gig could be your last. Wait, we were solving nervousness, you say?
So based on the mistakes we've made today, that's it then. We're done. Sorry for the technical difficulty, Scream. Well, look, thank you so much for taking the time to come along, and we can't wait to see you and Lemon casting on the stage and watching the games. It's been so cool seeing you go from tier 2 to this, and best of luck to you, and thanks again.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor talking to you.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
First guest on the runway as well.
Yeah, we're setting a dangerous precedent.
You're going to get some very sweary guests from now on.
Great, perfect. All right, well, we'll head it back to Twitch to end the show. Thank you very much to me and Kiwi in the past at Insomnia68. A massive thank you to Insomnia for helping us out with that interview and get there and all that jazz. There's a whole bunch of content that came out of that interview that you can see as well. Behind the scenes vlogs. There's a clip of Kiwi saying she'll kick a goose. There's Instagram content of when we were there. We've got a big podcast coming with a load of indie developers we talked to at the time. Lots of opportunities. Really good stuff. And we've got some exclusive Patreon content as well for when that becomes relevant. I'll tell you about that later. But if you want to know how we take a whole roving podcast setup like this and take it to interview leg day, we'll tell you the whole breakdown and everything you need to know in a content, and all of our fuck ups as well, because there's technical difficulties in it. We acknowledge it, but we'll tell you what we did on the day to fix them and how we made that interview still happen. So we'll give a plug to that at another point.
Can I just clarify as well? Because that did sound like something very different. He said Kiwi would kick a goose, not big goose. Don't come for me.
Kiwi would fight one-time Los Angeles Gladiators main tank Big Goose.
I mean, did the goose do anything to you, or...?
It was blocking her way.
No, do not make me out to be the bad guy here, because you were there too. It's just you weren't willing to get your hands dirty.
I would never cook. I would never cook a goose.
Nor
would I kick it.
No,
Gooses are evil.
To death. That's why.
Geese are evil.
That was the first episode of the Runway. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us a chance. And a huge thank you to LEGDAY for your time. And yeah, let us know what you want from the show in the future. If you want any different format stuff, we're trying to slightly more kind of put together approach than we've done for shows you might know us from before. But if you want more of that, we'll do more. I don't know. Let us know. We're always open to feedback and ideas. The Chaos Void is an improvement-focused esports accessible space. I'll get that in the right order one day. Basically, if you like Overwatch but find it hard to improve or compete in other teams because of toxicity or whatever, we think that we offer a welcoming, accessible space where you can learn, enjoy your game, find good people, and improve with and alongside them. We've got teams, we do pugs, we run scrims, we do the podcast, this shit, we're thinking about cooking maybe one day, all kinds of stuff. MetaMatch, go support MetaMatch, go join our leagues. You can win yourself exclusive prizes, tokens, jerseys, all the good jazz. Thank you to you two. You are always and have continued to be the best.
Where can they find us, Cam?
They can find us at We Are Chaos Void on all of the things. Thank you very much, Kiwi. I'll see you next month. Thank you very much, Squid. I'll see you next month.
Meow.
Aces high.
Hang loose.
And as always, stay chaotic.